Hi there, dear crafters. I'm not very creative with gift ideas for male friends, but after a few brainstorming sessions, the idea of the good old muffler came to surface. Surely, this is very suitable for women as well. The muffler I am wrapped around the neck with is an item I learned to make through many trial and errors many years ago, and is the most basic pattern on how to crochet a muffler. This pattern is based on the front post stitch, which is a beginner stitch. Despite the fact that is a beginner stitch, which is very easy and simple, the muffler turns out very cute and cozy. Doesn't this look like knitted? It does. That is why it's very cute. So our tutorial will show you how to crochet the front post stitch. But before showing you these steps, let me give you a few tips on how to make the muffler. Mine turned 2 meters long and about 30 centimeters wide, and is based on a foundation chain of 400 chains and 30 rows. Making that very first row of double crochet stitches takes me a few hours to finish. Despite that fact, this muffler can be done in a few days time. I used 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, but the most important part of this item is the yarn, surely. We are suggested not to give brand names if we are not paid to promote them, which is why we cannot give you any recommendation, but to use a light yarn, maybe a little twirled, curled, and surely a bit elastic. Let me remind you that the rows are done on the long side, which can be somehow challenging, and it requires around 3 skeins of light yarn of something like this. Besides this, you should know how to attach tassels at the end on the short side as well. This will be shown a little bit later. Well, now let's go to the actual steps on how to crochet the front post stitch. The front post stitch can be done with double crochet stitches or triple crochet stitches. This tutorial will show you how to work the front post stitch with the double crochet stitch. The foundation chain of this stitch does not require a multiple of stitches unless the pattern asks it. For practice purposes, I made a foundation chain of 22 chains and worked the first row of double crochet stitches off camera. So I kindly ask you to make this first row of double crochet stitches as well, and then continue with the second row of actual front post stitches. Let me give you a few suggestions. After practicing with this stitch, I realized that the bottom of an item can sometimes turn a little wider if working with the same crochet hook from the beginning to the end of a project. That is why I strongly suggest you to make this first row of double crochet stitches with a smaller crochet hook. I'm using 5 millimeter crochet hook for the beginning row, and then we'll continue with a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Also, right at the beginning of this very first row, you need to skip only 2 chains instead of 3, only 2 chains, and then continue making double crochet stitches to the end of the row. This will give you 20 double crochet stitches on the first row. Now that you are at the end of the first row, make chain 2 with the smaller crochet hook and turn. This chain 2 corresponds to a stitch just like the beginning chain 2 which you skipped at the beginning of the first row count. After working this chain 2, change the crochet hook to the bigger crochet hook. Now I'm using the 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. This beginning chain 2 corresponds to the last double crochet hook that you worked at the end of the first row. So now you need to skip this first double crochet stitch and focus on the second one. Just like you would normally make a double crochet stitch, yarn over hook once, and then insert your hook between the first and second double crochet stitch from front to bottom, and then behind the second double crochet stitch from the previous row, after which from bottom to front, all right, now that you are here, yarn over hook once more and pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over hook once and pull through 2 loops, yarn over hook once and pull through last 2 loops on the hook. This is how our first front post stitch was done. It's sort of challenging, but not very hard if I can make this. Let's do this once more. Yarn over hook once and from front to bottom, insert your hook behind the third double crochet stitch, pull the yarn through, and then just like you would normally make the double crochet stitch. Let's try once more. Yarn over hook once and insert hook from front to bottom behind the following stitch, and then from bottom to front behind the stitch, yarn over hook once, pull through. Now you have 3 loops on the hook, and then working this stitch around that double crochet stitch, finish a front post stitch. It sort of looks uneven and untidy, but as you will continue making these rows, it will look nicer and tighter. continue making the front post stitches off camera, but left the last two stitches from the previous row to show you something very important. Make another front post stitch with the bigger crochet hook. All right, another ugly and uneven front post stitch, but anyway, now this is the first chain 2 from the previous row. If you remember, you skipped this chain 2 previously. This is somehow very important because this is where most patterns will teach you to make a half double crochet stitch in top of this first chain 2 at the beginning of the previous row. This is impossible for me to make. I am unable to see, and because of my disability, this is just out of my reach. So I came to a small adjustment. With the smaller crochet hook, I made this another step, let's say like this. Make a double crochet stitch just like you would normally make a double crochet stitch between the last double crochet stitch and this chain 2 from the previous row, instead of making it in the chain 2. I'm making it just between them. That is to have an uneven number of stitches on second row. After practicing with this stitch, it came to me that it won't change the look of the item. Well, not much anyway. You may wonder, why is it that I'm using a smaller crochet hook to make the edges? Well, that is because the front post stitch is a smaller stitch than the normal double crochet stitch, and so to make it look even at the edges. Now that I made and you made this last double crochet stitch at the end of the second row, chain 2. After which change the crochet hook to the bigger one and turn. This is how your project should look like. By now, somehow ugly, a little uneven, and not very tidy. But after practicing and practicing, this will become a lot better. Well, now let's do just what we did on the second row. Skip this first double crochet from the previous row and work a front post stitch just like you learned previously. Yarn over hook once, insert your hook between the first and second double crochet from top to bottom, front to bottom, and behind the double crochet stitch from bottom to front, yarn over hook once, pull through, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over hook once and once more. And this is how is another front post stitch done. let's continue without me explaining these steps you should know by now. Well, dear crafters, these are the baby steps on how to make the front post stitch. You can now continue making this stitch on your own. If you are to continue working on the short side of a project, this is how it should look, which is, just another way to use this stitch instead of making a muffler on the long side. Needless to say that if you are planning to make a muffler, we strongly suggest you to use a light and elastic yarn to avoid making your muffler look like a piece of wood or something like that. However, I used this worsted yarn, somehow thick, to better point out its raised shape on the surface of this very small item I made. All right. Notice that my edges, which are adjusted to my visual disability, look even enough. But a secondary video with how to adjust to attach tassels on these edges will be recorded later and shown separately from this video. Thank you for watching and happy crocheting!